Once upon a time, in a dense forest, lived a cunning fox named Felix. Felix was known throughout the forest for his cleverness and his knack for trickery. He was always on the lookout for his next meal, and today, he had his eyes set on a plump little rabbit named Ruby. Ruby was a cheerful rabbit who loved hopping around the forest, collecting berries and chatting with her friends. She was kind-hearted and always willing to help others, but she wasn't naive. Ruby knew that danger lurked around every corner, especially with Felix prowling about. One sunny afternoon, as Ruby was picking the juiciest berries she could find, she heard a rustling in the bushes. Her ears perked up and she froze. Out from the bushes stepped Felix, his eyes gleaming with mischief. "Good afternoon, Ruby," said Felix with a sly grin. "What a lovely day it is, isn't it?" Ruby, sensing trouble, replied cautiously, "Good afternoon, Felix. It is indeed a beautiful day. What brings you here?" "Oh, nothing much," Felix said, pretending to be disinterested. "I was just out for a stroll and thought I might invite you to a feast. I know where to find the most delicious carrots in the forest. Would you like to join me?" Ruby's eyes narrowed. She knew Felix well enough to sense a trap, but she also knew that she needed to be clever to outwit him. "That sounds wonderful, Felix, but I must finish picking these berries first. Why don't you help me, and then we can go together?" Felix agreed, thinking he had Ruby right where he wanted her. He started helping her pick berries, all the while planning how he would capture her. As they worked, Ruby hatched a plan. She knew that Felix couldn't resist food, and she decided to use that to her advantage. "Felix," she said sweetly, "why don't you taste some of these berries? They're really delicious." Felix, always hungry, didn't need to be asked twice. He gobbled up the berries eagerly. What he didn't know was that Ruby had picked the most sour berries she could find, ones that would make his stomach ache. After eating a handful of berries, Felix's face twisted in discomfort. "Ugh, these berries are awful. What did you do, Ruby?" Ruby laughed and said, "Oh, Felix, you should have been more careful. Now, if you really want to find those carrots, you should follow me closely." Felix, determined not to let Ruby get away, followed her as she led him deeper into the forest. Ruby took him through the thickest bushes and the muddiest paths, making sure that Felix was too distracted to notice anything else. Eventually, they reached a small clearing where Ruby's friends, the other rabbits, were waiting. They had overheard Ruby's plan and had prepared a little surprise for Felix. As soon as they saw Ruby and Felix approach, they sprang into action, surrounding Felix and blocking his escape. Felix realized he was outnumbered and outwitted. All right, I give up," he said, raising his paws in surrender. "You got me this time, Ruby." Ruby smiled and said, "Felix, you need to understand that tricking others isn't the way to get what you want. Maybe if you try being kind and honest, you might find things work out better for you." Felix, humbled by the experience, nodded. "I suppose you're right, Ruby. I'll try to be better." And from that day on, Felix the fox learned to be more honest and friendly with the other animals. As for Ruby, she continued to live happily, knowing that cleverness and kindness were her best tools for staying safe in the forest.